Good evening, everybody. Nice to see everyone. It's 7:35 on Monday, July 6th. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Village of Ossining Historic Preservation Commission. I'm Adam Markovics. Why don't you folks introduce yourselves?
Joyce Cole.
Catherine Wilson. Sorry, Catherine Wilson.
Phil Ferranda.
Steve Casey.
I'm Jaime Martinez. I'm Planning Director.
Corporation Counsel Stuart Kahan.
Hey, Manny, you're the last one.
Sorry, I'm usually not part of the meetings, but I guess I'll introduce myself. Manuel Quesada. I'm one of the Village Trustees, liaison for the HPC.
And Manny, is that a historic map of the Village of Ossining behind you?
Yes, it is.
That's fantastic.
1888, but you didn't hear it from me.
Thank you, Dan. Yes, correct.
Okay, we have an applicant who's in the attendee waiting box, I suppose. This is an applicant for certain exterior work to the Open Door building on Main Street. Why don't we start there? The only other item on the agenda is the high school essay contest, and Joyce and I will provide an update to the group after that. But why don't we get to the application pending first? So if Arconics or Miss Gianfrancesco, if you could present on the application you've submitted.
You folks are on mute. You're going to have to unmute yourselves.
How's that? Can you hear me?
Yeah, there's an echo. You need to turn off one of your sound, either from your phone or from your Zoom on the computer.
Okay.
Still an echo.
Still?
Yep.
How's that? Hello?
Yeah, that sounds like you got it there.
Okay. I'm Gary Gianfrancesco from Arconics Architecture PC. We are the architects and planners working with Open Door with regard to the Certificate of Appropriateness that we are seeking. The area of work is the upper level of 163 Main Street, which is the left side of the building. And the main focus of the work that we intend to perform is primarily on that third floor. As you can see from some of the pictures we have sent, the three windows on that top floor, the bottoms of the sills and the bottom rails of the
Can everyone see the, I just want to make sure I'm sharing the correct stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Jaime. It's extremely useful.
So that lower portion of that clapboard siding is in grave disrepair. We intend to remove the clapboard siding, replace the three upper floor windows, and replace them in like kind. We believe that the corner boards of the clapboard siding will need to be replaced, as well as the trim around the windows. If you go to can you guys see my arrow?
Nope, but if you would like, you can take over.
So the lower left-hand picture, okay, at the topmost fascia, you can see this black spot. There's actually two of them. There's three pieces of fascia up there which make that run. That portion right there, right above the rot above the first window is, we believe, is what's failing, and that water is running down and causing the disrepair. So we intend to replace that metal fascia with a continuous single piece of metal fascia, and then we propose to remove the clapboard siding down to the first level right under the window sill, and basically replace everything in like kind.
All right. Is there a way we can enlarge? And it's Mr. Gianfrancesco, is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for being here, by the way.
My pleasure.
Is there a way, Mr. Gianfrancesco, you can enlarge the text to the left of the drawing of 163 Main Street? I think it might be easiest if we just...
I can do it. I'm actually controlling the picture, so.
Okay. Yeah, if you can enlarge that, we can go point by point through that.
Okay. Did your meeting start yet?
Okay, great. So the first point, new continuous aluminum coping, color to match cornice molding color. So the new continuous aluminum coping, there's an arrow pointing to the top of the building. Is that?
That's correct.
Is that right?
Yes. And if you bounce back to the picture in the lower left-hand corner, you can see the brown mark, the black mark, about a third of the way. Go up,
Yes.
up, right there. That's where we think the failure is coming. If you follow that line directly down, you can see where the clapboard siding is. Correct.
Is there presently aluminum coping?
Yes.
Okay.
And apparently it was installed in 3 pieces, which is primarily why we think it failed.
I see. There, is the coping pictured? I mean, I suppose it's in this picture, but it's just hard to discriminate in the photographs. Is that right?
Yes, it's actually the topmost portion.
Yeah.
That right there, that topmost portion.
Yeah, got it. Okay, so you're going to replace what's there, I guess, with a single continuous piece. Your point is that the fact that it was installed in sections has maybe allowed this water infiltration to occur, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's and the color to match, right?
Correct. We do not have, we went back to the original drawings. There are no paint colors listed. So we are going to, have them spectrophotometried and matched exactly to whatever's there.
Okay, so it's whatever the color of the coping is, it will then be painted to match.
Correct. There's basically 3 colors on the facade. You have that dark gunmetal blue, you have the white and the yellow.
Okay, that sounds good to me. Let's keep going down that list of text.
Okay, so the existing dental and brackets appear to be in good shape from our observations, and they shall remain intact.
Terrific.
Then you drop down just a little bit, and there's a piece of that existing cornice molding which has been deteriorated, and we will replace that in like kind as well.
Okay, so now what do you exactly mean by that third bit of text? If you could show us on the picture.
That's right there.
Okay. That would be done with wood?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, that sounds okay to me.
Okay.
Let's keep going.
Again, the arched window heads appear to be in good shape. When we take off the clapboard siding, we will reflash that. Again, it won't be visible, but it certainly looks like it's in need of a little bit of attention. Then dropping down to the next one, we will.
So I'm sorry, Mr. G&D Francesco, just to stop you there. The new aluminum flashing, I suppose, will be hidden below any replacement clapboard, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
keep going.
Okay. So the window casings appear to be deteriorated. We will replace those in like kind dimension and thickness, and they will get painted out in the appropriate blue color.
Okay,
And we're basically planning to take that clapboard siding down to about the third floor level. At which point we will reflash that. And again, it'll be hidden behind the new clapboard siding.
okay,
And that's pretty much the scope of work. We will replace whatever clapboard siding that we see is, and it is deteriorated, but for the most part, the vast majority of the work is from the third floor up to the roof.
okay. The replacement siding will be wood.
Yes,
Okay,
Mr. Gianfresco?
yes,
Gianfrancesco, I'm sorry.
okay.
This is relatively new construction, the third floor of this structure, right? Wasn't it from the 1990s? And in historical photos, that building was much shorter. And then when Open Door bought it, Hillikers, they also bought the building next door and added that, I believe, that story to it. So I'm just curious if that's what your blueprints show.
To be honest with you, I did not recall that.
Okay.
That could in fact be the case. The original drawings are far from detailed, and I'll just leave it at that. So.
Okay. It's not I will send everybody photos later. I should have done it earlier, but that portion of that building is within the past 20 to 30 years. So it's not, I believe, historic architecture, that section. When they bought the building, they completely redid it because it was in pretty bad shape. And I only know this because Lindsay Farrell told me, okay? They added that third story. They completely redid the front, the facade, and added that third story. So just as a point of reference, we're not talking about, I do not believe, 19th century structure there.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Can I, just a quick point of reference, I have to ask, the coping at the end, you show here, it's sort of like you see, there's not like a seamless transition around the corner here at the end.
Yeah.
But if you look at the adjacent building, you'll note that there is, you can't really see it that well in this picture, but it actually kind of seamlessly curves around the corner. It does not do that on the other side. Are you proposing to sort of keep it kind of the way it is, kind of where it just sort of dies at the end? Or are you planning to like continue that architectural detail around the corner, similar to what exists next door?
To be honest, we were looking to keep everything in like kind as to what you see.
You know, I would advise the board to take into consideration that even though it may not be 100% historically the same, consider the sort of architectural benefit of creating something that is similar in quality to what exists next door, and might be a small change but an improvement.
Jamie, are you talking about all the way to the right of the next building, or?
I'm talking about, if you can see here,
Yeah.
in taking a look at the actual, unfortunately I don't have a picture right in front of me, but I want to try to, if I can just draw it around it real fast to annotate, that might help.
You're looking for it to return.
Yeah, kind of, exactly. Over here it does that already. Over here it does not. Right, and where you had shown it. So where you're making the changes, it doesn't exist that way, but it does exist that way in another section at the next building. So I'm just asking whether the board might want to consider making that slight change, which would be a minor deviation, but it would essentially be carrying this existing design and bringing it around the corner for aesthetic purposes.
Jamie, is that something you observed out in the field? Because it doesn't seem to show up in any of my photographs that way. I mean, I was at ground level taking these, but I don't see it.
I do have a picture of it, but unfortunately, I can't get it to you here. If you give me a second, let me see if I can get it up. Trust Google.
While you're looking, Jaime, your concern is enhancing the protection to the building, or you see some aesthetic benefit to coping?
Yeah, I mean, there's a minor aesthetic benefit to it. I think that, you know, to keep it consistent with what is going on at the adjacent property, which is sort of, from a color standpoint, very similar to this property. I apologize. Where's the right place to drop this?
Up, go back up.
Right there, Jamie.
All right.
I'm sorry.
All right. If you take a look here, you can see the way that it works right here.
On the adjacent building.
Yeah, the adjacent building, yeah.
Okay.
So just, you know, just for the board to consider whether or not it might make sense to keep it consistent with the adjacent building, to do it that way, as opposed to the way.
Did a pretty good job of matching when they built that new part of the structure. The new facade matches the old Hilliker's department store pretty well. But I think it'd be nice that it would wrap around, because it'll just be an improvement. You know, it's not something they did when they added it in the 1990s, whenever it was. That's all replication. You can see the dental molding there isn't replicated, but they did a pretty good job of matching it.
Dana, that's really great information. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. I'll send some pictures. Actually, it's fascinating. I'm going to send some pictures that show what those two buildings looked like before Open Door bought that building, and
Yeah.
you can see the difference.
Well, I think Jaime's suggestion is a good one. Of course, it's up to the applicant whether to adopt the suggestion.
I don't see a problem with it from our perspective, but what I want to point out to you is that last corbel on the left So we would have to start that return. I don't think we're going to be past the corridor, right? Because otherwise we're on past the property line.
The property line being in the air?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, look, we're happy to give it a try. I think the only way to execute it, to be honest, is it probably will need to stick out a little bit past the left side of the building.
Well, do you need approval from another party for that? I mean, who owns the air rights to that?
I guess whoever is below.
Well, I would say if it's not too huge of a,
No, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be. But again, we wouldn't start it to return back until we got past the left side of that corridor.
Right.
That's fine. We can do that. And we'll replicate it on the right side as well. Is that what we're saying too?
I guess if you can, do you have room?
Yes, I think there's enough room to do it there, and then we only overlap our own building. See, we're kind of above.
I mean, as you can see, they didn't align the roof lines exactly.
I think that's something we can do.
I have a question. You said the very top, the coping was done in 3 sections prior. I could see that now with this Zoom. Will you be doing that in 3 sections as well?
We're going to do it in one continuous piece.
Gotcha.
Seamless.
That's the roof, right? Those seams.
Yeah.
Well, this is water damage, in other words.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's maintenance, which means it does.
And you can see it dropping below each of those breaks.
Now, if it were 19th century construction, I don't think that would have happened. No, just
I
saying.
think you're right. I think you're right.
Okay. Well, with that amendment, I certainly have no objection to the proposal, which strikes me as
Yeah, it's still gonna be the same.
thoughtful and historically appropriate. And does anyone have any further comments? Okay.
We appreciate Open Doors' attention to historic detail. We really do.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll express that to Lindsay.
Okay.
Okay, with that said, I would move to approve the application with the amendment that the coping at the top of 163 Main Street be wrapped around both sides to match the roof coping at 165 Main Street, but otherwise approved in all other respects. Would anyone
I'll second it.
second? Was that Phil Ferranda
This
second?
is Phil. I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Just a quick point of note, you can see that that style of coping existed on the top and the middle
Oh,
here.
come on.
So I'll send you photos. You're gonna be fascinated.
Look forward to that.
Okay.
Really.
Mr. G and D Francesco, thank you very much for your submission and for taking the time to speak with us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good night.
Aye.
I see there is a one attendee. I wonder if the attendee cared to share any comments or concerns, or to introduce yourself and just say hello.
They've been away, whoever it was.
Hi, no, this is Kimmy Pogum, but on here to listen.
Oh, hi, Kimmy.
Hi.
Hi.
Kemi runs the CAP program, which is headquartered in the historic Washington School, which needs to have a plaque in front of it, but that's another discussion.
Where I went to kindergarten and first grade.
Right. A school, if you have not been in that school, I highly recommend having Kemi give you a tour. It is phenomenal.
Really? I could do that.
Well, you know people now.
Adam, can we move on to the next thing, please?
Yes. The next item on the agenda is the high school essay contest. This week, Joyce and I had a Zoom meeting with Miss Puello at Ossining High School, Mirla Puello. And Miss Puello expressed a great deal of enthusiasm for the essay contest. She suggested that we make it an option to for students to enter a video instead of an essay, which I think is a good suggestion. I believe someone at the group, maybe it was even Stuart, who had suggested that in the past. So Joyce and I are going to tinker around some more with the contest proposal. We're going to revise the language so that it indicates that students can submit a video instead of an essay. We're also going to revise the contest proposal to indicate the criteria which the essays or videos will be judged by, such as organization and research and enthusiasm. Joyce, did you want to add to that?
No, it's just a rubric that will help guide the students on how to write and if they're submitting the appropriate information that we're asking for, and it's a tool for us in judging it.
Okay. I think the plan is to get a revised contest proposal to Ms. Puello by August. And Ms. Puello suggested that she would then roll out the contest to students in September or October. Do I have that right, Joyce?
That's correct, yes.
And the contest deadline would probably be a month after the contest proposal is, or the terms of the contest are disclosed to the students through their social studies classes. Sometime in the late fall, I believe we were talking about November for a deadline. All right. So that's pretty much it. She was very enthusiastic. Joyce and I are going to work some more on the proposal between now and August and submit a revised version to Ms. Puello by then. And I think we're going to move forward with this, which I'm very pleased about. It's going to be shared with both government classes in the high school and U.S. history classes, I believe. That was Ms. Puello's idea. All right.
Great.
So that's that. Does anyone have any thoughts about the essay contest or the essay/video contest?
Well, I think it's kind of perfect for right now because we don't quite know what's going to happen with the school year, but chances are there's going to be a lot of at-home stuff. And this is something they can do at home and going out into the community and thinking about. I think it's kind of perfect. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. And I think the video component is interesting. So I like that.
I mean, if the entries are awesome, which they probably will be, we should, figure out a way to share them with the community.
Ms. Puello also suggested that we advise students that submissions can be in either English or Spanish.
Yep.
Which I would welcome that. My Spanish is okay. We may need to rely on Manny for some assistance to the extent we get any Spanish language videos or essays
she did offer help for us to be able to.
Oh, good. Or, you know, I wasn't suggesting Manny do it himself. Maybe he could
Anytime.
move us in the right direction.
Not a problem. You know, can I ask you guys something? It's interesting you say that a video, because a good friend of mine, his son is going to NYU film school there, and he had to do a video, I guess, you know, part of his classes, and it was like a short video, a short film, and it was amazing for me. It was amazing that actually it was created the way they did it. It was prior to pandemic, obviously, but it was like about 5-minute video, and they give you the whole history of the video, and it was pretty incredible. And they just did it with their iPhone. They did all the editing, everything with the iPhone. So I can't wait to see what kids in high school can do. I mean, it's just, you know, it's amazing. So I'm very excited about you know, what this essay could be and the potential it could have. So very, very, you know, definitely excited about this. So thank you guys for all that stuff. Joyce, Adam, definitely sounds like a lot of fun for kids to have this summer, or even like September, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And let them know they can reach out to the village historian or to the historical site. You know, let's give them some resources. You know, I have a huge, you know, I've got all the historic photos on my hard drive, so I'm happy to share them.
I like that, Dana. I know you would happily make yourself available. I can't speak for the Historical Society, but would you be open to our putting your contact information in the contest, you know, proposal?
Sure, of course.
You know, you're at not your private contact information, but, you know, Village of Ossining email address, for historian email address, for instance.
Give them my Opt Online one, please.
I'm sorry, which address?
Dana White at optonline.net.
Okay. Okay. And then, you know, we've assigned cash prizes, which I believe will have to come from a third-party entity rather than the village. You know, Phil had expressed some interest in sponsoring this contest. Phil, we don't need to discuss this on the record. We can talk about this offline to the extent you wish to, revisit it offline.
Okay, I haven't checked my cushions in my couch or my car in a while, so I think I got some money.
I'd like to approach some other entities in the village as well, who perhaps are businesses on Main Street. You know, we need to include as much of the community as possible. And I can work with people to bring in, you know, perhaps some prize money funding from downtown businesses, or small developer. Well, we don't want to get the developers involved, no. But I mean, I think there are lots of opportunities there, and you know, I'm happy to try and find other people to donate.
Okay, I'll follow up with Mr. Ferranda off the record. I don't want to put him on the spot on the record, and to the extent we need to reach out to others, we'll reach out to others, but to the extent we can get it from one source that's close to the HPC, you know, I don't see any downside to doing that.
Oh, no, not at all.
All right. So that's it for the essay contest. I wanted to bring up one last matter that's not on the agenda. I had a conversation this last week with an individual who's been very active at the First Baptist Church. She's a congregant, and in fact, I think she appeared before the HPC with the pastor in around November 2019. Her first name is Genevieve. Forgive me, I've already forgotten her last name. But I had a conversation with Genevieve, phone conversation a few days ago, to check up on the status of their efforts to secure funding for the restoration of the steeple, which day by day just continues to go in a downward direction. It is a monumental structure, an iconic structure of the church, but also the steeple, right smack in the middle of our downtown historic district. It's visible from every part of Main Street. It's visible from both directions of Route 9. And, you know, and it's not doing well. And, you know, I'm concerned about it, and it's an important asset to our community. So things have been, you know, slowed down by the fact that Joanne Tall passed away. Joanne was working with First Baptist Church to submit a grant application to New York State Parks and Recreation, but that's been stalled. Genevieve was going to share with me whatever materials they had succeeded in. Oh, there you go, Jaime. Thank you. Yeah, I mean it's an eyesore. It really doesn't look good, and it's, you know, one of the first things that visitors to Ossining, either coming north or south from Route 9, see. They see this deteriorating structure, paint falling off it. It's got this bracket on it because it was structurally unsound. So, you know, I told Genevieve I would bring it up at the meeting tonight to place this, you know, once again on HPC's radar. It's now, you know, in a way more urgent than it was back in October, November, because Joanne Tall is no longer, unfortunately, around to assist in their efforts. She mentioned to me that they have secured some funding, but this is going to be a very expensive undertaking, and they're going to need more. So I'm going to do what research I can on my end to see what other sources of funding might exist. I've looked into the New York Landmarks Conservancy, you know, religious sort of monuments restoration funding. I don't know the name of the grant offhand, but unfortunately with that particular grant is only limited to technical assistance, and they don't really need technical assistance. I think they know what needs to be done. They need to repaint and maybe replace some of this steeple, you know, parts of which have deteriorated badly. So I'll continue to do some research on my end. I invite anyone on the commission who's interested to stay in touch with me about this. If anyone, go ahead.
Contacting, getting the politicians involved. Sandy Galiff and David Carlucci do have access to funds from Albany, and everything's going to be tight, you know, and all the grants, you know, the problem is all the grants that have already been granted are being slowed down or even questioned because of the economic situation. But this church is historic on a lot of levels, one of which is, and this is an angle we could pursue, that basically this church is responsible for the creation of the Star of Bethlehem Baptist Church. This is where Henry Dewars came and preached on Christmas Day, 1990, whatever it was, and he was welcomed in, and then they were unusual in that they had multiracial services, I believe. And then the Star of Bethlehem, of course, went on to become a separate congregation. So there's African-American history in this church as well. And it may be that we can, you know, emphasize that. But I know that David Carlucci, you know, got, when the Dale Cemetery Heritage Trail looked for a grant, they got it from David Carlucci, and Sandy Galiff is very resourceful. So, you know, it wouldn't hurt to try them, and I can, you know, work on it.
Okay. Dana, I may be in touch with you because that may be a fruitful way forward here.
This
You
is
know,
just a church restoration or a steeple restoration. It's a historic restoration, and it is a key part of our local history, and it is very prominent.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a absolutely gorgeous structure. And the pity too is, I mean, the steeple may be the immediate concern, but if you look at the brick work around it, that's also deteriorating, as well as some of the what look like wooden supports. I guess they're decorative, not functional, but some of those are also decayed. So that structure is going to need a lot of attention at some point. The steeple probably being the immediate cause of concern.
yeah, Stephen, I agree. I was there in front of the church about 2 hours ago, and the south facing facade, the fascia board or barge board, what have you, it's also in very poor condition. In particular, that stood out when I was looking at it. But yeah, I think the steeple is probably the #1 priority, and because it's so conspicuous, maybe a good sort of selling point for trying to raise some funding. I mean, it is, I don't know, the tallest part of the downtown historic district, and it's just so visible, and it's in bad shape and doesn't reflect well on Ossining. So Dana, I'll be in touch with you about maybe writing a letter to our state legislators.
Okay.
I don't think the village itself will be able to earmark any funding for this project.
I don't think so. It's tough. It's tough. These churches, you know, their heyday is past, right? Yet they remain very visible symbols of our past. You know, the congregation has shrunk in all of these churches. But you know, we need to, I think this church in particular plays a real important role in Austin's history, so. It's
Okay.
the oldest congregation, second oldest, but it has a really interesting history. So.
Okay, with that, I don't have anything further. Did anyone else want to raise any issues before we adjourn? Okay, I'll take that silence as encouragement to make a motion to adjourn, which I will do. Do I hear a second?
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, folks, we are adjourned for this evening. Thank you all for showing up. This discussion will be continued in August.
Okay.
Hey, bye, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.